In Five Nights at Freddy's 11-year history, there has been a lot of debates regarding the lore of the franchise. Some interesting and thought-provoking, like if the Fazbear Frights books and Tales from the Pizzaplex books were canon, which was recently confirmed not to be the case. Some were kind of silly, like if Springtrap was William Afton or Michael Afton, while the answer was clearly Michael, and then Scott retconned it due to fan backlash. I think we can all agree on that. There are more confusing debates, like FNaF 4, but there's one debate in the community that has been around for all 11 years now. A debate that at one time was a major talking point in the community, but has died down over the years. That debate is, of course, the Bite of 87. You see, the Bite of 87 has been around since the first game came out.
They used to be allowed to walk around during the day, too, but then there was the Bite of 87. Yeah.
It was most likely a dark joke, and since then, it has always been asked who caused the bite. Back when FNaF 1 came out, the main suspects for the biter were Freddy, Foxy, and Golden Freddy. Nah, I'm just messing with you guys, come on. This video is about Mangle's gender. You clicked on the video, you know what it's about. Mangle's gender was a debate I never found interesting back when FNaF 2 came out. I mean, I was like, what, 7? I had better things to worry about, like annoying Orange reacting to the FNaF 3 trailer. But as I've grown and matured over the last decade, I'm actually still not interested in it, but I think it could make for a fun video, and it would be fun to look back at this debate and see if we can find an actual answer. So let's start off our discussion about this with some ground rules. First things first, I'm just assuming that Mangle is either a boy or a girl, because that's what the debate was when FNaF 2 came out. I guess it's possible Scott could have made the character of Mangle with another gender identity in mind, but for the purposes of this video, I'm gonna assume that's not the case. Also, what I mean when I'm talking about figuring out Mangle's gender is just in the context of when FNaF 2 originally came out, because I really don't think there's an answer now. Obviously, after FNaF 2's release, Mangle's gender has become more of a joke in the fan base and the franchise, with FNaF World referring to Mangle with both male and female pronouns. Funtime Foxy from Sister Location, who looks very similar to Mangle, also has a similar situation, with Funtime Foxy having a more masculine voice and being referred to with male pronouns, yet being included in Ladies' Night and Sister Location's Custom Night. There's also UCN, where Mangle seems to have a masculine and feminine voice. And of course, what basically confirms Mangle's gender is now a joke is this Steam post. Okay, people have been asking me about Mangle's gender for almost a year now, and I think it's time I finally answer the burning question about whether Mangle is a boy or a girl, so that this community can finally put that matter behind them. The answer is yes. Now, a lot of people seem to be taking this as Scott saying that Mangle's gender is literally yes, like the word yes, but that's not what he's saying. At least that's not how I'm interpreting it. He's saying that he's answering the burning question about whether Mangle is a boy or a girl, and he's saying the answer is yes, Mangle is a boy or a girl, but not literally that Mangle's gender is the word yes. He's just, dodging the question. So I guess you could probably make an argument that Mangle is a boy or a girl nowadays, but clearly Scott doesn't care and neither do I. What I'm curious about is what Mangle's gender was when FNaF 2 originally came out, before it became an in-joke, and that is exactly what we're going to talk about today. So join me and my friend Zetarox as we try to figure out what Mangle's gender was when FNaF 2 came out. But before we get into that, I just really quickly want to ask you guys to subscribe. I'm trying to hit 9,000 before the end of the year, and subscribing would be a massive help. With that out of the way, let's talk about this polarizing debate. Okay, so first things first, let's talk about Mangle's design, or like the actual mascot part of it, the Foxy part. I think this is probably the least important aspect of the debate, but I want to make this video as long as possible. Mangle's made up of pinks and whites and has lipstick along with nail polish on the feet. I think it's not unfair to say Mangle has a stereotypically feminine design. There is the primary color being pink, which is of course considered a more feminine color in society, but I think what's more notable here is the lipstick and the nail polish. I mean, yeah, men can wear that stuff too, but let's be honest, it's definitely more of a stereotypically feminine thing, especially in the 1980s, which is when the character of Mangle seems to have been created. So Mangle's overall design should be evidence for Mangle being a girl, right? If Mangle has these stereotypically feminine features. Well, actually, no, not at all, because of another character within FNaF 2 whose gender was debated when the game came out. Toy Bonnie. If we look at Toy Bonnie, we see that he has a quote-unquote feminine design as well. Big eyelashes, rosy cheeks. Toy Freddy also has these features. This led to a debate about if Toy Bonnie was a boy or a girl, which also happened with FNaF 1 Bonnie too, actually. I don't know if people debate about Toy Freddy's gender, I don't remember. However, even with these feminine design features, Toy Freddy and Toy Bonnie are still canonically male characters. So this should prove that even though Mangle has these stereotypically feminine design features, it doesn't mean Mangle isn't a male character. It's possible the toys just have these design features and it means nothing towards the gender of the animatronic. So that's the design of Mangle out of the way. Now we can start talking about the actual game FNaF 2 itself and the evidence that's hidden within it. Well, the two pieces of it anyway. On night 3 of FNaF 2, Ralph says,
They tried to remake Foxy, They thought the first one was too scary, so they redesigned them to be more kid-friendly and put them in Kids Cove to keep the toddlers entertained, you know. But kids these days just can't keep their hands to themselves. The staff literally had to put Foxy back together at the end of every shift. Eventually they just stopped trying and left him as some kind of take-apart, put-back-together attraction. Now he's just a mess of parts. I think the employees refer to him as just the Mangle.
And well, that should be it, right? Right there, Mangle is called a he, and says that they tried to make him kid-friendly, which could explain the design details. And it makes sense when you think about it. I mean, Foxy originally was a male character, and Toy Bonnie and Toy Freddy, who have the same sort of feminine characteristics, while being based on male animatronics, are still male characters themselves. So using this logic, Mangle should just be a male too, right? Well, yes, actually, I would agree with you, if it wasn't for FNaF 2's Custom Night. You see, FNaF 2's Custom Night introduced unique challenges for the first time in the series. This fact is mainly overshadowed these days with Golden Freddy mode or 1020 mode, the hardest mode in the game. One of these modes is called Ladies Night. It includes the characters of Toy Chica, Wither Chica, and Mangle. But wait, I thought...
They thought the first one was too scary, so they redesigned them to be more kid-friendly and put them in Kids Cove.
Yeah, this is where the debate really gets started. Why is Mangle in Ladies Night if Mangle is supposedly a male character? I mean, I guess Foxy and the puppet are there too, but they're on every Custom Night challenge, so that doesn't really mean anything. Could Mangle actually be a female character? Well, it does kind of make sense when you think about it. I think it should be obvious to all of us that FNaF 2 is kind of rushed. I mean, the game only came out 3 months after the first one, and look at these Mangle renders, dude. And I think it's very likely that the phone calls were one of the first things that were done for the game. I think this makes sense considering that Balloon Boy, a character in FNaF 2, with a unique mechanic of disabling your flashlight but not killing you, is the only main threat in the game to never be mentioned in the phone calls. Which leads me to believe Balloon Boy was a later addition to the game, and I think we can say a similar thing with Mangle's incorporation as well. Since I mean, a majority of Mangle's appearances in this game are just PNGs. The only actual rendered appearances are Kids Cove, the vents, when Mangle's at the vent light, the hallway, and the office. And the jump scare, of course. Everything else is just a PNG, which leads me to believe that at least the PNG renders were some of the last things done for the game. Okay, but where am I going with this? Well, the point I'm trying to make is that it seems like the phone calls were some of the first things done for the game, and Scott didn't choose to update them when he added characters such as Balloon Boy. And we know that some of Mangle's appearances in this game are just PNGs. So Mangle's renders were probably done later in development. So what if when Scott made the phone calls, he didn't have the mangled design completed? He just knew he wanted to make a mangled Foxy character. And then when he actually got around to designing the characters, he decided, nah, I want Foxy to be a girl, and then he threw them in the Custom Night challenge without updating the phone calls because he just didn't care. I mean, we know he doesn't care about Mangle's gender now, so who's to say he already didn't care back then? I mean, there's much more important stuff going on in this game than Mangle's gender, of all things. Now, most of that is speculation, I'll admit. I mean, I'm confident the phone calls were probably done early in development, but all the stuff with Mangle being made later, I don't know. I do think it's interesting though. And yeah, it's possible Scott forgot he referred to Mangle with male pronouns, and when he was making the Custom Night challenges, he decided to throw Mangle in Ladies Night. Thus, that means Mangle is most likely a female character, right? So that would be like the most recent decision compared to the phone calls, which would have most likely been made earlier. Well, I don't know. Because here's the thing, it would break the pattern with the other toys. Freddy is a boy, Toy Freddy is a boy. Bonnie is a boy, Toy Bonnie is a boy. Chica is a girl, Toy Chica is a girl. Foxy's a boy, Foxy is a girl? I don't know, it doesn't really add up. Sure, it's possible that Mangle's a gender bent Foxy, but like none of the others are gender bent, so I don't know. Okay, I can kind of see why this debate became so big now. We have two possibilities, well actually more, but just ignore that, both of which have pretty solid arguments. So yeah, I can see how between the weight of FNaF 2 and 3, when there is nothing else to talk about, this took off. I wish there was something we could use to explain this away. Oh wait, there is, the head on Mangle. Yeah, as most of you might know, I have not mentioned the other head on Mangle in this video yet, and this is where our problem can be settled very easily. I mean, the head has to belong to another animatronic. Which one? I don't know. Since Funtime Foxy in FNaF World, who's just fixed Mangle, doesn't have like a parrot or anything, so it has to be a separate character entirely from Funtime Foxy. I hate that name. Why is he called Funtime Foxy? Why isn't he called Toy Foxy like the rest of the... Whatever, who cares? Who this head is the real question we should be asking. It even shows up again in FNaF 4, but whatever. The point is, maybe this head is male or female, and Mangle is the opposite gender. This can explain why Mangle's voice in UCN and FNaF AR sound both male and female. Maybe while making Ladies Night in FNaF 2, Scott just decided, yeah, sure, I'll put Mangle in here and the head can be a girl, whatever. But overall, what do I think the gender of the actual Foxy animatronic part of Mangle is, which is probably the part we actually care about, let's be honest? Well, probably a male due to Ralph's line in the pattern with the other toy animatronics. Also, Ralph only refers to Mangle as a male when talking about the Foxy part, so yeah. So basically, to summarize, Funtime Foxy or Toy Foxy or Fixed Mangle, whatever you want to call him, is a male character. But whoever this head is a female character. It's actually quite simple. I mean, if I'm being honest, I think the real answer is Scott just didn't care when making FNaF 2. And he underestimated how much the fan base would actually care about stuff like this, so it just became a bit of a joke. And to be honest, I don't really care either, actually. I just thought it would be fun to look back at this old debate from 2014 that didn't really matter in the slightest. And I needed to make a quick video too, but ignore that. Honestly, Mangle's gender is whatever you want to be. I think Scott put it best when talking about Spring Bonnie in FNaF World. Male, female, it's a rabbit, who cares? Oh, Scott. So what do you guys think about this burning question? I think my answer makes a lot of sense from an in-universe standpoint, but I also think it's equally as likely that Scott just didn't really care when making FNaF 2. But I also do think it makes for a fun debate, so whatever. And it was fun to look back at it 11 years later. Like I said, when there's a bunch of downtime between FNaF 2 and 3, I can see how this became a large debate. There really wasn't much else to talk about, and Mangle is referred to as male and female in the same game. I mean, there's definitely more to it than I thought. I expected this video to be like 3 pages, and right now it's 9. Also, has anyone else noticed that so many debates from FNaF 2 are still around today? Like Mangle's gender, who stuffed the kids, the bite of 87, if the toys are possessed? I don't know, I think it's kind of interesting. Like I said, let me know in the comments what you think Mangle's gender is. Personally, I'm just going to refer to Mangle with both male and female pronouns interchangeably, because, you know, that's just kind of like the joke with it. So yeah, I'm just going to keep doing that. And make sure to hit the like button and subscribe while you're down there to help me hit 9,000 subs before the end of the year. And if you want to support me further, why not consider joining my memberships? You can join by clicking on the join button right next to the subscribe button. So if that interests you, consider joining. With that said, I just want to say I hope I didn't offend anyone with this video. I've gone over the script a couple times and I think it should be good. But if I have, I just want to say I'm sorry. I really didn't mean to offend anyone. I just thought it would make for a good video to talk about this infamous debate. Anyways, like I said, I hope I didn't offend anybody, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Goodbye.